It just happens. And this is what will happen throughout our afternoon together as we kind of transition in and out of our breakout groups and then go back to the main group. So you don't have to do anything. You can just sit back and relax. I'm Greg Talley with Talley Management Group. As Matt mentioned, I'm also a .orger. So I don't come from your profession or your background, but luckily, while I'm facilitating today, I'm joined by 3 colleagues of yours who are genealogists with a genealogical background and here to help us as we go through. They're all part and parcel of the Delegate Steering Committee, and they will cycle through our breakout sessions this afternoon. So you'll meet several of them as we spend our time together this afternoon. But let me have them introduce themselves and their role as we go through our conversations together. Laurie?
Hi, everyone. I'm Laurie Hermance-Moore. I'm an AG. I live in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm representing the Ohio Genealogical Society. And I'm also a member of the Delegate Council Steering Committee.
Great, thank you. And Susan?
Susan, you're muted.
I'm Susan Howard. I'm from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I'm a member of the Santa Fe County Genealogical Society, and I will be your chat monitor for this session.
Great. So just to verify, as we go through our dialogue, there are probably about 35 to, right around 33 of us. You can either do the raise your hand method, either with the Zoom raise your hand, or just go ahead and raise your hand. I can see all of us, so that makes it a little bit easier. But also, as you've seen people doing, feel free to communicate in the chat as we go through our time together, any comments or questions, and we'll try and bring all that into our discussion that we have. But last and certainly not least, Dawn.
Thanks, Greg. We're so glad you're here to lead us through these activities today. I'm Dawn Carey Henry. I just spoke with you a few months ago, and I'm the chair of the steering committee for the Delegate Council and the new NGS. So let's get going, Greg.
Great. Okay, so let's jump right in and have your Slido ready. We're going to be using this throughout the day and our breakout, so I'll give you another minute to get that back out and ready, and then ask our technical crew to throw up the first question to start us off. There we go. So very broad, but looking for your input on what are the main needs of your organization as you think about them. And I think you can go ahead and record your answer. We should have them start to scroll up to see what we're dealing with. That's fundraising, always a big issue. Okay, excellent. Now it's starting to populate. I see someone looking for more characters. You might need to do some abbreviations. Give you a few more minutes to play. Remember, you can vote up on something that's already been posted, or you can create a new entry. Excellent. There might be some folks still trying to get back into Slido, but I see folks starting to come on. Any additional thoughts? There's a couple more.
Greg, I noticed that when you get into Slido, you do have to select Group C at the top.
Ah, Okay.
So that
thank
could be
you.
why because probably
Yeah,
more,
I just saw that.
because if you don't
Yep.
see that, probably all your responses are going to group A.
Oh, great. That's all right. They need help in that other group. Thanks, Ed.
Yeah,
for
I
bringing
think they
that
probably
up
just
as
got a
well.
lot of help. It was
Good
not a
catch.
super, it was a feature that was not completely clear.
You're exactly right. So hopefully everyone can reorient themselves into Group C, and we've just had a burst of activity. So I see that happening. By the way, we are going to be capturing all of this input so that it doesn't disappear. And as we go together forward in NGS and as a delegate council, we'll be able to pull this information back up as you do what you all do together. Now,
How should we be able to choose Group C to respond to? Because mine does not show me any option.
okay, so I think that's right.
in
As
the
you
upper-
go, you might need to go back out and come back into Slido again, and it should be preset to show you up top the groups.
Great.
In the upper left-hand corner, there's the 3 bars, and then it
Ah,
should say Group A and hit the drop down. Do you see that?
yep, found that. Thank you.
Great. We're going to be experts at this by the end of the afternoon. You're going to be dreaming about it tonight. By the way, this is a great tool for this sort of work. It's also really reasonable. Excellent. So there clearly are a couple of key standouts here. So I wonder if one of you who indicated volunteers could just share with us kind of the issue, right? That word can encompass a whole lot of different things. And I wonder if someone could expand on that for us.
Greg, this is Karen Mollahan. We get volunteers slowly but surely, but we have trouble keeping them. Or they want to volunteer and just to have the name or the title and not participate. So how do we handle those issues?
That I see a couple of heads nodding. Does that sound familiar? Yes, I see lots of head nodding. So has anybody solved any of this, or is it a problem? Or does somebody say, hey, we've kind of dealt with a piece of that seems to have been successful. It doesn't address the whole issue, but it addresses this piece of it.
This is Carol from Czechoslovak Genealogy Society International. We did a poll, sent out a questionnaire to our new members, asking if they'd be interested in volunteering and what areas they might be interested in working on. We got great responses. We have a pool of maybe, 20 or 30 people. Our problem is the next step of when we're an all volunteer organization, someone has an idea for a project, does someone just run with that and contact volunteers and say, hey, do you want to work with me on this project? So that was a great tool for understanding what's out there, what our potential is, but taking the next step is a problem for us.
Great. So this idea, I'm hearing kind of both the recruitment and then the ongoing engagement, right? In terms of how do we keep them engaged, and or to Karen's point, how do we overcome those that kind of volunteer, but then really don't seem to want to be engaged beyond having their name on a list somewhere. So that's, and I'll also just share with you from the nonprofit world, no matter what space you occupy, this is probably the #1 big issue for everybody. So not surprising to see that one pop up. Fundraising is another one. Anyone want to give kind of the perspective on that from your types of organization? Or is it the age old, we just need more? And then how do we go about getting it? Has anyone solved that problem? There you go. Go ahead, Carol.
Oh, this is Deborah.
Oh, great, Deborah. Go ahead.
With our society, we are trying to come up with a way to fundraise for a digital book scanner so that we can scan the Common Pleas and other books that are in our record center. But we're not sure how to go about it and not, with us being nonprofit, a lot of the people are saying, well, you can't make a profit, so how can you get the money and make sure that we don't have any tax liability? So
Right.
that's the issue that some of our members are quandering with.
Absolutely. I understand that. And again, a common issue also points up a bit of a common fallacy for you to be able to work with your members and your board about. Not-for-profit does not mean you cannot have excess revenue at the end of the year. The only way you're going to grow as an organization is, in fact, to have excess revenue at the end of the year. So you actually need to be cash positive by the end of the year. So don't let kind of folks who don't understand how a nonprofit works get in the way of you doing what you desperately need to do, which is increase revenue to be able to fund the programs and services you want to do. And as part of this delegate council, this idea sharing, this ability to pose those sorts of questions and get some answers and some guidance as you go forward is really going to be, I think, one of the main benefits of this. So that's a really good point. Anybody else on the fundraising issue? Okay, how about increasing membership? Again, there isn't an organization, membership organization I know that doesn't want to try and do this. What's the fundamental problem here?
Again, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Mrs. Maggs with MidaWiDNA.org. I think that our biggest issue as a nonprofit and trying to get membership is getting us out there, having us better known. We've only been around since 2018 and it's new and we're trying to build and trying to be social. We just got a social media director volunteer, which is great. But it's getting the word out. It's letting people know that we're out there. That's our big issue.
Got it. So the whole issue around awareness, right? How do we generate awareness that we're here? And then everything else that we do and the opportunities for people to engage with us. Great. So really kind of a public relations and general awareness campaign. And how do you best do that?
I was going to speak. This is Deborah Giesner again with the Claremont County Genealogical Society. And our dilemma is most of our members are not local and they're dying off. And we're trying to get new blood and determine ways to get in touch with the schools or the youth groups like the Boy Scouts or the 4C group, try and get young people interested and then possibly joining our society. And that would help us with our tech too, because they know how to do the things that we don't know how to do.
Exactly. Again, certainly a common issue around the country, around the globe actually is, the millennial generations and those that have come before have kind of this built-in way we knew we needed to work and wanted to work and engage with organizations or entities. And the younger generation, we're not sure. Are they going to be just as willing to engage or how do we reach them in this fast-paced gamification video space that they occupy? And, that is a conundrum that we're going to have to crack. And it'll be interesting to see if any of your peers have done that. How have you taken this whole concept of genealogy and put it into a language or a way to demonstrate to the younger generation how interesting it is, what it can unlock, how you tell the story, but tell it in a way that a Generation Z, Generation Xer can latch onto and grasp and say, that's something I want to know more about. Very cool.
Well, one of the issues we have with our group is how to stay relevant for our longtime members as we get in new members. And of course, some of our new members are younger, more tech savvy, and we just changed our website. And a lot of our longtime members were really negative about it. It's, they don't quite want to get into the tech world as much as others do. So we're trying to find that balance of being of interest to across the spectrum of age and of people who have been involved for a long time.
Right, Carol. You know, the fact of the matter is, right, we can't switch. We have to do both, right? We have to maintain access and availability and engagement through the digital and technology tools, but we have to be mindful of the audience that just isn't ready to go there or doesn't want to interact that way. So for a lot of organizations, yes, we need to do both and make sure that all those tools, we're using all those tools to make sure we get there and keep everybody engaged. Great. Well, speaking of technology, let's flip to our second question if we could. So what are the key issues related to technology as we look forward, whether it's post-pandemic or not? What are those key issues for you, technology related? Got a couple of answers now. I see constantly changing, yes. Isn't that our life right now? I mean, really, it's not just in our genealogical organizations. I think it's everywhere in our lives. Level of change and the speed is a little frightening. Great, getting some great answers now. Excellent. Who wants to kind of articulate the issue around hybrid meetings?
This is Karen again. Since we started having Zoom meetings so that we could continue, we've got more people asking now that are out of state members or ones that were driving a long way in the Atlanta area to come to our meetings. Can we do both at the same time? And the biggest issue is the technology in the building that we meet in to be able to do that with the capability of having internet stability where we meet.
Got it. Let me ask our tech folks, can you take me back to full gallery view so I can see everybody as we have the discussion? Does that ring true for all of you in terms of this challenge about the hybrid meetings? It's this issue of, gee, we had to do it. Now everybody kind of likes it. It gets us a little bit more perhaps participation, but what does that mean for us, right? How do we manage our way through this? And then I saw kind of how do we run a good hybrid meeting? Now, all the things, if it's going to be in our space now, we have to do it. How do we do it better? It's tech issues. It's how do we manage it better? Sounds like that's really a big piece of this. Is that what I'm hearing?
I can give you a state organization perspective. So for the Ohio Genealogical Society, we're having the same issue. You know, we're a bigger organization than a lot of smaller local societies. However, our tech isn't up to running a hybrid meeting. And yet we see the opportunity by making ourselves more available virtually, we can keep bringing in new members. We can provide opportunities for people who there's no way they could come because they're way too far away, because so many people had Ohio ancestors. So we feel like this is something that we desperately need to solve, because we think that we can solve the membership and the fundraising problems potentially if we can make ourselves more conveniently available to a broader swath of people.
By the way, this again is.
I think all of this.
Go ahead, Sheila.
I think it kind of harkens back to the people. I think, you know, having the right tech means having the right people who have the skills to do the technology. for the most part. I mean, every once in a while it needs a piece of equipment, but mostly now it just means having people who know what they're doing. And I think we get back to looking for volunteers. I mean, we're in St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana, which, you know, you can't get too much smaller than St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana. But we have a 35-year-old organization. And so we're not a startup, you know, we've been around for a long time. And we have access to as much technology as we need, but it's people. It's looking for people. And I think that's our main issue, is finding volunteers. A lot of people are interested in our programs because we have A1 programs, but finding people who are interested in volunteering to make those programs happen, that's another issue.
Right. Mags, I think you just had a really great point, right? It's all part of the same issue and it's all interconnected in terms of how this all has to fit.
I have another comment. We're located in a public library. This is Deborah Giesner with Claremont County. We've been doing Zoom meetings for the last year because the library has our meeting room closed. But the technology available there depends upon the library. We don't own it. And that's the issue that we were looking at going forward, is would we be able to have the members that want to come together locally participate in the meeting room while maybe opening the Zoom meeting from the large screen there. And I don't know if they'll let us do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly you're headed down one of the paths, right? Is figuring out who else could you collaborate in your community to help get you access to some of the things you might need. And so the library is one opportunity. Certainly any of your local education institutions might be another. So I think there can be some sharing, obviously, around how else do we rethink about this to help get us the technology and the people we might not otherwise be able to have on our own. So yeah, but I'll just also share, I'm in the event business as part of what I do. So this conversation is happening in every organization, whether it's local, state, regional, national, or international right now, about how do we balance this hybrid situation out. The third big one that I saw was the website issue, and who wants to articulate the technology challenge there? Anybody? It popped up pretty big, or is it a piece of the same issue?
Well, I don't know who entered that, but with our society, we're part of the EasyNet sites that was possibly going to close. And that was the issue that we ran into. And we're now trying to transition. And I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, that's all good. Janice, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, I do. We have a website. It's reasonably functional. We want to add some functionality, such as having databases available on there, searchable databases. Our current webmaster doesn't have the capability of doing that and doesn't really want to learn. And that's actually the more frustrating part of it. Other things that we'd like to do, she's like, no, I don't want to do that. And well, she's the one who's the webmaster right now. No one else wants to be the webmaster. I mean, you hit the limit of either somebody's existing capabilities and or desire. And what do you do? We don't really want to go out and find a new webmaster. It took us a while to find her. So we're kind of stuck. And in fact, the last thing that I asked her to about the possibility of adding to our site, she said, you'll have to ask the next webmaster to do that. Okay, thank you for letting me know you're shutting me down. So yeah, very, very frustrating. And that is one of the disadvantages of a volunteer organization. What do your volunteers not want to do?
Yeah. Wow.
Our organization hired a professional website design company to make a new website. It costs us, I think, I don't know, $50,000. It was a lot. But they worked, you know, and they also provided training for, we got a new webmaster. Our old one was willing to work with it for exactly that reason. We wanted to put databases on, have so much more functionality. So it took an investment of, we don't have any professional staff. We're all volunteers, but we did go outside to find a group that would work with a nonprofit to do that. So that was how we kind of solved that problem. And then we've given training to our new webmaster in the new system, and it's working out pretty well.
Great. Val, I saw you had a comment.
Yes, hi, I'm Val Lutz from the Genealogical Society of Pennsylvania. We have a situation similar to Janice, but in this case, I'm sort of the primary person who's left to work on the website. And my colleague and I had rebuilt it back in 2016. Several years ago, we had someone come in for $50,000 and do a website, but there were some security issues. And rather than upgrade on that Drupal system, we decided to use managed WordPress. So we've been working with GoDaddy. But the main issue we have right now is that when we rebuild it, we focused more on just getting the content up there and not really the design or anything like that. And I actually work in a library as my regular job. I work at the American Philosophical Society in Philadelphia. So I guess what we're really looking to do right now is improve the design, which I'm doing behind the scenes. But we really want to find like a digital library software, a content management system that will allow us to display the collections in a better way. And the one issue we've had is because, of course, with our website, you would need to give someone access to the back end of our website, which also includes the membership data. So people often mention, having interns come in, but we would have to really trust someone in order to give them that back end access. And for now, I'll gladly do what I can on my own. I've passed along the password to our office staff as well, and I'm training them. But yeah, I'm interested in any ideas people might have for what's worked for them.
Great. Mags, I see you waving.
Yeah, well, considering that we are a website, that's our whole thing, is we are a huge website and a database. Every volunteer that comes into our organization has to sign a non-disclosure agreement, whether they're an intern or social media person. So having that non-disclosure agreement helps cover us with our liabilities and helps to cover our members and our volunteers as well. So I suggest looking into a nonprofit based non-disclosure agreement. Ours is pretty stiff considering the data that we actually have DNA data. So ours is really stiff, but you might be able to find somebody who has a little bit less stiff thing. I mean, we've even had people balk at signing ours because, wow, this is so strict. And we're like, yes, it is. If you don't want to sign it, don't volunteer for us. So
great. Laurie,
Yes,
I saw
thank
you
you.
had Laurie, I saw you had a comment earlier about a partnership to look for in these situations.
Right, exactly. So the idea of maybe reaching out to a local college, a local community college, and this also applies to people when you need PR help, social media help, marketing help as well. I mean, keep in mind, there's a lot of students out there who need these kind of projects in their portfolio.
Really great point. Great point. Let's jump to our third question here. If we could have the question put back up, and you're going to go back into Slido. And here it comes. Hold on. There we go. So in your organization, at your board meetings, these may be two of the hot topics that you had to talk about, but what else are some of the hot topics that you're in discussion about in your organization's board or staff? So clearly the issue around technology, clearly the issues around fundraising and volunteers, but what else are some of the hot topics out there? Don't forget, you can upvote something that's already there or add a new one. Okay, couple more. A lot in here, obviously, as you can see. Great, member benefits. Benefits, board. All right, Who wants to talk about the member benefits issue? In terms of kind of, we don't need the details, but what's the crux of that issue there? Somebody must have put that down there.
Well, hello.
Go ahead, Sheila.
I didn't write it down, but I know I didn't write that down, but I know, well, they're telling me my internet connection is unstable because we're having a storm. But it's something that we talk about a lot, member benefits, because I think it all loops back into how do you get people involved? How do you get people excited? How do you get people to join your organization? And you do that by giving them something, by offering them something. And the question is, what can we offer our members that's different or that's enticing, you know, so that we go around and around about member benefits a lot. And what are they? What can we do? And we're kind of in this position that somebody else mentioned about being in a library. And because we meet in a library, we have certain restrictions. So that kind of puts us in a box sometimes.
Got it. Who wants to speak to the strategic planning issue? And can we also assume that needing board members is a subset of our volunteer problem to begin with? We need more volunteers, and then we've got to get some of those volunteers willing to actually sit on the board. Does someone want to speak to the strategic planning issue? You can take us back to a total gallery view, please. Someone want to, who put, Jody, did you put that down? You want to speak to it? Just unmute. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Jody Ressler, and I am the Vice President of the Kentucky Genealogical Society. And yes, we are dealing with this a lot right now. Our bylaws right now have our board members are on a 2-year board plan. So we are coming up on a new year of needing new board members. And of course, it's always the same group of people and everybody gets burnout. So it's finding those new people who are willing to not only volunteer, but to take on what seems like a lofty position. And so that's always difficult. Even when we try to downplay it, like, hey, it's really not as big as vice president sounds. My particular job is I set up our monthly webinars and presentations, but a lot of that can be kind of crowdsourced and whatnot. But so it's kind of finding that bridging to the next group and maintaining the flow and the momentum, and especially of what we've gained over these last 18 months of changes.
Good. Thank you. Laurie, I'm wondering from your perspective of what you've heard here this morning already, what's your take?
My take is that there are many core issues that we all have and we all share. And I mean, in our society, which, you know, we're a state society, I'd say we're experiencing all the same things, you know, fundraising, tech, lack of being able to get board members. We are doing strategic planning that has helped. So, you know, that is one place where we're maybe not struggling quite as much, but I think that I'm just hearing a lot of common issues and a lot of, you know, a lot of it traces back to, you know, what can you put in place in terms of people and tech and a stable financial platform to be able to ensure the success of societies.
Great. Susan, what have I missed because I can't watch the chat at the same time I'm trying to keep track of the conversation?
Not much. I think we've covered most everything that's been brought up in the chat.
Good. Okay. Excellent. Well, we're about to get thrown out of this. And what that means is we automatically go back to the large room, but we're actually also right at a 10-minute break. So you can just kind of keep your screen on and go take care of what you need to take care of. And we're going to come back at the 30 minutes after the hour of wherever you are. That's when we will resume. So you're out and on your own, and we'll see you back in the full room in 10 minutes.